Hi guys, my name is Sergey and I am a car mechanic in San Francisco, Pacifica. Today we're gonna talk about Pcv valve. What does Pcv valve means? How does it works? And we also gonna change a Pcv valve at BMW X5. This is a 3.0 liter 6-cylinder engine, and this is a very common problem when you have check engine light on and you have code like P0171 or P0174. Those codes means that your engine runs lean, mixture adaptation out of range. Today I'm gonna do the Pcv replacement at this vehicle, and I will also show you all the process, what you need to take. We need to take out the intake manifold from this engine because our valve mounted underneath the intake. Some people do the job without taking intake manifold, but it's very difficult. Much easier and much quicker. Pull the intake out, put it on the table and change all valve and all the hoses. I also going to change all the hoses which connect our Pcv valve with crankcase and with the valve cover, because very common problem also with these hoses, they get old and get cracked and they leak. Why the lean error codes appear and how the Pcv valve works? Let me explain, guys, how the Pcv valve works. Pcv, it's positive crankcase ventilation valve. The main word is positive. This valve adjusts the amount of air which engine sucks from the crankcase, and as much pressure creates the crankcase inside the crankcase, the valve open more and let the engine suck that air from the crankcase. When the pressure inside the crankcase goes down, even creates a little bit vacuum, our valve closes. This is how this valve adjusts the amount of air which our engine allowed to suck from the crankcase. Very often this valve get old, cracked or stuck in the open position, and our engine sucks too much air from the crankcase, uncountable air which doesn't go through our MUF sensor, and our engine runs lean. Mixture is lean and mixture out of range of adaptation, and we have error code. This is why it's very good idea when you have a lean error code. First time check the all hoses, briefing hoses, and after that check the valve. Alright, we have BMW X5 2002 3.0 engine, straight 6-cylinder engine, and it will be almost the same or similar procedure for many BMW which has the same engine, like 325, 525, 528, 530. They all have similar engine, and the whole procedure will be similar because similar manifold and the valve mounted underneath. First I'm gonna take this old plastic shield, and after that I'm gonna take all the filter box with these hoses. Also I took out the cover which cover our intake manifold. Now next I'm gonna disconnect the positive cable. This cable goes straight right to the starter. Usually you can disconnect the battery, but we have connector right here, and we can easily disconnect our cable from power. This power goes straight to the battery, and we will slide this wire when we will be pulling the intake out. We just slide it through the intake. Next I'm going to disconnect all our wire harness from our injectors. It's a little bit pain us job because our injectors has specific wire like clip, and we might push both sides in the same time move them away, like open them and pull our wire harness up. It's a little bit difficult procedure, but you need to be a little bit gentle, because it's really to crack it, all this system. Alright, I've got the injector, looks like rail, guys, but it's wire harness inside, and I want to show you what kind of clip on the injector connector. Look, it's not like a regular connector with clip which you can move or just push and slide it out and slide it in. You see, it's different clip, and you need to move this clip both sides in the same time at once, like this, and in the same time you need to pull it outside, and it's a little bit hard, a little bit difficult to take it out, but it's possible. You can see I've got it out already. Now next I disconnect the positive cable, and we will slide it. It goes through the intake manifold. I will take intake manifold with our fuel rail together, because it's one part fuel rail mounted to the intake manifold. Newest engine intake, the fuel rail mounted to the head already, but this one is still on the intake. And I'm going to disconnect fuel line from here, and this line also will come out with intake manifold. And next step, guys, we're gonna disconnect some wire harness which mounted to the manifold. We have one 10mm bolt, and we have another. It's right here where is our throttle body, and we need also to disconnect our what kind of valve is it? It's tank ventilation valve. Yeah, we disconnect this line. It goes to the tank, and we have one more bolt which not visible, and many people do not know about that bolt, and they lose all bolts which hold our manifold tied to the head. They're 11mm nut, some bolts, but they're underneath the intake manifold in the middle another 16mm nut which hold our manifold tied to the block. And if you don't know about that bolt, you lose the manifold, and manifold start to move a little bit, but you cannot take it out. All right, just do not forget, we have one bolt straight in the middle right there. To disconnect some fuel line, you need to use some special tool which goes inside and open our clip, but we have already plastic right here. We need to pull this plastic inside like this, you can see, and the same time pull it out. Here we go. This plastic works like tool. Actually, we disconnect the line. Now we need to disconnect our vacuum hose which goes to the brake booster. This vacuum hose goes straight to intake manifold. We disconnect it. We can see the clamp. All right, I've got the intake out, and I can show you bolt. This is that bolt, guys, which you cannot see really from the top, but the bolt is still there. And this is a bracket which mount to the block. Alright, you can see the intake now from the underneath, guys, and our valve, PCV valve, it's right here. Now can you imagine how can you change this valve without do not take the intake out? Some people was telling me that it's possible. It's actually possible. I've changed it once without taking the intake, but you spend twice more time than you just pull the intake out and replace this valve. I also replace all these hoses. We have all set, and we're going to replace all of them. Also, this gasket is reusable, but if you see something goofy and the gasket is really weak, you might change this gasket also. Alright, we'll put all our valve and hoses. We tied them to the intake. I also replace the small hoses, guys, which goes to some solenoid. They was really old and cracked. They almost fell apart itself. And we are ready to throw it back. Very important things, guys, and small trick when you push the intake back to the head. You need to do you remember that bracket underneath the intake manifold? You need to catch that hole and push them together. You cannot push down to the head, and after you will not be able to catch that hole in the center and underneath the intake. You need to do it at once, because it's impossible. Push it this way first and after just bend it down. It won't work. You need to do it in one time. And another small things, this hose, new hose, always bend this to this area. Do not forget to put it right, because after you tight the intake manifold it sometimes hang from this area and you cannot throw it right here. You need to disconnect it again. This is why always make sure it goes with right way. Another small things, do not forget to connect all our electric connectors. We disconnect the solenoid. Actually, that solenoid goes to the EGR system. And do not forget to connect all our valves. We have throttle body, we have idle control valve, we have intake manifold valve here, right here in the middle, which separate our intake for two pieces. And do not forget to connect our evap valve, which goes to the tank. One small advice when you will be put these nuts, guys, this is specific size 7mm nuts, and there's some area with holes and you might drop the nut inside down somewhere. This is why before you start to drive the nut there, just close that area with some rag, with some towel or something, and you will not drop any nut inside. I just drop a nut and I should pull the intake out again to find the nut, because it's specific size. This is why this is small advice from me. Just put and close that area. Do not drop any nuts underneath the intake. Alright, I have it done. Now just left to clear the code inside the control module. And if you have scan tool, guys, you might monitor online and live data and see what the O2 sensor shows, what the fuel trim are after you replaced all those valve and hoses. But if you don't have tool, you have just reset tool, you might clean the error codes and go drive the car and see how it runs, and if it not set the code again. I'm sure this car will be fine, and I'm going to clear the codes, and that's it. We are done. I hope this video was useful for you guys and you saw how to do the job step by step. I show you some small details, some small tricks. Advices: do not drop the nut, because you will take the intake out, and do not forget the bolt underneath the intake. It's very hard to access and find that bolt, but it's still there, and keep in mind that there's another bolt which holds the intake manifold. Alright, I wish you good luck, and write some comment below, subscribe my channel, and see you next video. Bye.